Welcome to She Moves Bravely, a podcast dedicated to empowering women through stories of resilience, courage, and success. I'm your host, Shantae Dent. Today, I have the honor of introducing you to a woman who moves bravely. Her name is Leigh Burgess. Leigh, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Here on the She Moves Bravely podcast, we are hearing various stories of women moving bravely as they navigate through life. Here comes Leigh Burgess talking about being bold. I'm going to pass the baton to you. Introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and how life has brought you to what you're doing today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. So I'm Leigh Burgess. I'm the CEO of Bold Industries Group, a company I formed in August of 2020. When I resigned without having a job, I got to a point of burnout where I needed to make a change. Prior to that, I had been in corporate healthcare for the majority of my career at wonderful institutions, making an impact, particularly in research. So I ran administration and operations for large academic institutions. And so had a lot of opportunity to flex my innovative, my innovative agitator in me that kind of makes things move and get things accomplished. But this got to a point of complete burnout in August that I know I needed to make a change. And so I did that and had never thought I was going to be an entrepreneur in my life. I'd never thought of it as a possibility even. And so just had the opportunity to give it a whirl and do anything I wanted to do, and I hadn't felt that way in a long time. And so I formed the company, and then I really took some time to heal myself from burnout because you can't just jump from one fire into another. So really wanted to focus on that and do things in a thoughtful way, but still being bold. I think that's one of the things people might think that being bold is just being risky and jumping and leaping and not even thinking about what you're doing. It's a very thoughtful, pragmatic process. But the key thing that happens when you're bold or brave is you're taking action. So really took a lot of action in 2020, which was a interesting year for the entire world and an interesting time to not have a job. So so doing a lot of things that would be, sometimes maybe bold and brave, people think they're crazy or you're, not logical or you're not doing, not making sense. But for you, it truly and totally is because it's personal. So
Yeah.
really taking my personal, steps forward at that point in time after forming the business and then starting to create everything that's bold over the last 4 years.
So incredible. I like how you clarify being bold doesn't mean I'm out there just wilding out, messy, no strategy. Like it takes an individual being strategic. What really makes a difference is that you decide you will take a step, whatever that step looks like. Now, what was that process like when you talk about feeling burnout? We hear that a lot this day and age where individuals are burned out for a number of reasons. They are overly exerted. And sometimes it's not easy walking away from the prominent
Oh, not at all.
position, not
Yeah.
at all. And so we both know, Leigh, that many people will stay.
Mhm.
So, what can you share with us? What was your thought process like when you made that transition?
Yeah, I think, I don't advise what I did because I think I really got to the last, string, ready to break, in that sense. I had let it affect me so much that it was my health that was being affected by
Mhm.
my burnout. Like to the sense of, 2 hours of sleep of night, not really, doing the things in the way that I'd want them done, meaning like being reactive,
Yeah.
not being me. And I just didn't feel like me. But I avoided or didn't pay attention to the signs that were all there. So, my health, I wasn't moving. I was, my communication and those types of things. It was just constant being at the laptop. And again, 2020 is this unique year. I
Mhm.
am, in healthcare. So like in a sense of kind of where I was working was a pretty intense environment, but I'm used to the intensity that really wasn't a challenge. I think it was just how much I was working and how much I was sleeping, and then really realizing that it was impacting how much I moved, what I ate, how
Mhm.
I communicated, the things that I did for fun, like I very rarely was, off of work for more than 8 hours. Like I think Saturday
Mm,
morning to Saturday afternoon was really the only time I was off. And so it just got to a point where it was so ridiculous. And I had avoided all the signs, and I had gone into a meeting and came out of a meeting, and my eye vessel, one of my blood vessels had burst in my eye from the stress of being in that particular meeting. And it was staring me straight in the face.
I
And
bet.
I said, that's it. I gotta go. So I didn't have a plan. I hadn't planned all my life to be an entrepreneur, to build a business, but I had to have belief in myself. And I had to have belief that my health and my family and my relationships were all much more important than staying to try to make something work, because I'm a very driven person, someone who strives for excellence and wants to do the best they can always, and do a good job. And I was doing that, but it was at a cost.
Mhm.
And I think for me, I just had to choose me, my family, and that's what I did. And you, it's a, for me, it was a scary time, right? So not only kind of what was happening in the world then, but just like, what am I going to do and how am I going to do it? And I bootstrapped my company. So, using our savings and using some of my retirement. So those are the types of things that I did to figure out kind of financially what I was going to do. I felt a great responsibility to my family to keep my job, but it was at the cost of my health, which no one wanted.
No. And so you are encouraging individuals to pay attention to the signs.
Hmm.
I like the signs that you alluded to in your own story. And it sounds like a lot of it manifested just physically up until that last
Yeah,
moment, leaving a
yeah,
meeting. Okay, that's extreme.
yeah,
The blood vessel burst. I mean, if
yeah.
that's not a wake up call for somebody, I don't know what else it's going to
Yeah, like if
take.
I avoided that, I'm spiritual, so I feel like God was like, "Hey, I'm gonna make you see it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put
exactly.
it in your face, and
In your face, in your eye.
in your eyes. Do you see it now? Yeah, like do you see the
Yeah,
light?
you see
So
it
yeah, so
now.
I've definitely got the message with that,
Yeah.
and I think
Mm.
that was the moment of like, I can't do this, and it
Yeah.
isn't about me failing. It isn't about me not being strong enough. It isn't about me
Come
being
on.
irresponsible or
Yeah.
selfish or all these things that came into my head. That
Yeah.
when I was like, wow, like why can't I fix this? Why can't I
Mm.
make it better? Why can't I figure this out? I'm like an experienced C-suite individual. Like
Yeah.
I can do this. Like, it wasn't about me failing or any of those negative things I was saying to myself. It was about me choosing to
Yeah.
be healthy, choosing to be joyful, choosing to be in alignment, right? And that's what I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're speaking my language because what you're doing now, Leigh, you are normalizing someone's situation today.
Mhm.
They are
Mhm.
struggling in that place, knowing I'm burned out. I'm not normal. I can see and experience the signs.
Mhm.
And I even liked how you incorporated your family because I feel like sometimes someone will hear a story like yours and maybe assume, oh, she didn't have anything on the line.
Yeah.
It was easy because you came from the C-suite executive role. You had
I
the
was, yeah.
status, but there were still difficulties and difficult decisions that you had to make.
I'm the primary breadwinner, which I hate that title, but
Yeah, yeah.
of our family. So
Mhm.
all responsibility financially is on my shoulders, or was on
Yeah,
my shoulders at that time.
yeah.
So I think, from that perspective, I had everything to lose, in a sense,
Mhm.
financially. But if you don't have your health and you don't have your family and you don't have your life the way that you need it, from, the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual space
Yeah.
in good, and it's in good shape, you don't have nothing.
Mhm. Yeah,
And that's really what I had to choose.
yeah. Talk about perspective.
Hmm.
And again, for our listeners, I'm hoping this is enough for you to have that wake up call. And maybe, perhaps it's not you. It could be your family member,
Yeah.
a friend, or a colleague, someone who it's visible that they are experiencing burnout, that they are not at that point where they're ready to make a choice or make a decision, to make a move, to take a
Hmm.
step. I would hope that Leigh's story is offering a sense of encouragement and again, normalizing the reality.
Hmm.
It's not, like an overnight decision. There are some difficulties, but as you mentioned, Leigh, when you consider your health, the peace, the joy, your family well being, like all of that overall,
Mhm.
it's worth giving yourself, your life, the attention that it deserves, that you deserve. Because I'm always thinking about sometimes we go on and on and on. We what is it, the Energizer Bunny commercial comes
Mhm.
to mind that it keeps going
Yeah.
on and on and on. And we, in this interesting way, feel good about it. Like we can wear the burnout badge on our shoulder.
Mhm.
And perhaps you can feel good for a moment. It's temporary. You're not
Right.
able to show up for yourself, for your family, and your loved ones. And I don't know about you, but that's not the life to live. That's not like the abundant life. So, Leigh, you stepped out to do a new thing,
Mhm.
and you started Bold Industries Group.
Mhm.
Now, could you tell us what individuals can expect when they connect with Bold Industries Group?
Sure. Yeah, so what I did was, first of all, the acronym for our company is BIG. So I wanted people to think bold and big
I
and really
like it.
yeah, right. So when I think about what what I wanted to create was a space, a community, and services that help people solve problems for good. And for
Mhm.
good meaning that it was they won't come back, and if they do, you know how to solve them. And for good meaning they make the world a better place.
Yes,
And
yes.
so that really is the mission of Bold Industries Group. What I did then was really, I started with the consulting arm of our organization, which does help healthcare. So obviously, I've been in it a very long time. I've been in a particular niche of healthcare, which is clinical research operations. And I have particular skill sets that really help out, like help things get turned around or help things move faster or help solve problems in an innovative way that you can learn pretty quickly
Mhm.
how to fix it. And in that particular area, like I feel like I'm doing good because research particularly is one way to help people get better, particularly in cancer, which is where I was working. It's the hope that people have when they get diagnosed. So I take that one really seriously, but that's really where I started the businesses in the consulting space. And I did something very unique called a D90, which the D is designed the 90s 90 days. So really asking organizations to radically prioritize what they want to accomplish
Yeah.
and starting off with that as my service, and it really took off. And so had that opportunity to do that. What happened then when as I was working with organizations and interacting with folks across different business and business types outside of healthcare is people were asking me to coach and coach around the framework that I created when I was actually healing myself, which was believe, own, learn, design. So that's the word bold, another acronym,
Incredible.
and really understanding kind of how our beliefs affect what we do. Really, they affect all of our actions. They may affect how we take risk or take chances within our personal or professional worlds,
Mhm.
and really understanding kind of where they come from and why do we have them, and are they helping us, are they harming us, are they holding us back. And so really thinking clearly through that. And then ownership really is owning kind of what do we own, what do we not own, and are we celebrating our wins and successes and not just taking on things that is like are we taking time to actually celebrate the good things, but then are we also not taking on things that are not ours to own, which was a real big issue I had. I had this mantle of responsibility that was huge and really took on a lot of things that were not mine to take on, which again I think increased my stress and made it very difficult to work the way that I was working.
Yeah.
Then learning is really about living in that growth mindset world, and being able to kind of get into it and live in it and accept it and realize that failures are going to teach us things, and we learn a lot from things that don't work, but you really integrating that and baking it into our process. So within organizations, like where are we going to fail, like really talking about that openly and permitting people like to put out the ideas that they have inside them that they may not have shared because they thought, oh, I can't share something that isn't guaranteed,
Mhm.
a turnaround or a money maker or X, Y, or Z. So really using learning as a pivotal way to innovate and to organize a process. And the D is all about design and really designing whether it's the life you want to live or what a challenge or kind of the process that you have in an organization. So
Mhm.
really using that bold framework within organizations and within my coaching model. And then I flexed in 2022 and created my own podcast because I wanted people to be amplified. Because just
Mhm.
like you, amplifying the brave and people who are living their truest self, I think people were being bold and they really didn't even know how bold they were I mean, they
There
were
you
doing things
go.
that would bring you and me to our knees, maybe. And I
Just
was like,
come on
whoa,
now.
like,
Yes.
yeah, I can't believe you did that. So, and it's really grown, I think, been an opportunity. And then I also started events at that point where I created the Bold Retreat, which is a connection around mindset, strategy, and wellness, all inclusive. 10 to 15 women, all you have to do is show up, and it's a combination of strategy. Each of them has a different focus, and we've done 5 of those so far, and it really is focused in on being able to be a 360-degree person, not just your title, not just, who you support, not just your gender, but, all of you, and really, wanting to attend to all of that. And it started to create a community of women that were supporting one another, not only in their goals, but in life. And it really started to grow. And then I created the Bold Table out of what I thought were very dysfunctional networking moments happening left and right,
Mm,
for women particularly. And I think it just felt like they were impersonal. It felt like they weren't connected, and it felt like they at times weren't meaningful. And I wanted to be the opposite of that. And so creating smaller environments for women to come together and be together, and that it wasn't just for a night, but it was for a lifetime of connection. And then just this, coming into 23 and 24, I created the membership Bold Leaders Collective, which kind of brought everything under one roof of Bold. But I never would have planned any of this. My job, I mean, when I first started off, it was like, I'm just going to do consulting, and get this going.
yeah. I love everything, and I want to capitalize every letter in the word everything. I love everything about what you're doing, Leigh. It is empowering on multiple levels, and I love how you are connecting with the individual as well as the corporations, the
Mhm.
companies, and every aspect of your program, of your events, of the leadership. It's empowering individuals. And I like how you talk about, it's not really just like one area of their life because of their title, their position. Your services are helping individuals in every area of their lives. And I think about how you unfolded this journey. And like you said, you didn't know, you didn't see all of this in the beginning.
Not at all. I didn't even plan for it because someone
Uh,
asked like, "Oh, did you plan to do a podcast? Did you plan to do a retreat?" No. Like, and I think that's interesting because my goal was just to make as much as I made where I was in my last place because I wanted to provide for my family. I wanted to have a roof
mhm.
over our head. I wasn't trying to make $1 million. I wasn't like that wasn't the end goal, which I
Yeah.
actually think helped because it if you're not focused on that one thing, and I'm not saying money's not important, so I'm not saying that at all, but
Yeah.
it wasn't the only thing I was focused on. I wanted to understand myself better. I wanted to love who I was and not be so critical. And that's still like a daily, like between the ears type of moment of like, you are enough, you are doing a good job, you are having an impact. It's all going to be okay. Like on things that you say to yourself on any day, and maybe I say all of those, it just depends. But I needed to kind of get through that because I had come from a place of burnout where you weren't enough, you weren't doing enough, you weren't getting it done, even though you weren't, you know what I mean, you thought you weren't. And
Yeah.
so I just really felt like it was important, and my goal wasn't all of these things. My goal was just to have an impact, to help people, and to do good. And I think that's important for anyone kind of in their role, whether they're an entrepreneur or an organization, is, are you really aligned with your values and what you want to do? And just kind of doing a check-in on that. If you say your family and your friends and your relationships are part of your values, then are your actions aligned with that? And mine weren't. And so I really had to check myself because I got to that place where I wasn't really truly being who I wanted to be.
Mm.
And so I really wanted to focus in on that versus making a dollar amount or something so crazy. Like I just wanted to make what I made, and I did that.
And this is allowing me to see how and why your journey has unfolded as beautifully as it has, because you started with self awareness. Let me take care of what's going on internally,
Mm-hmm.
and it transpires externally in such magnificent way. And clearly, you're benefiting, your family is benefiting, and everyone who crosses your path benefits from your services.
Mm-hmm.
Leigh, you have taken a next step, another step of boldness and bravery. You've written a book. Your book is Be Bold Today. Unleash your potential, master your mindset, and achieve success. Leigh, tell us more about it.
Yeah, so the reason for writing the book is really to scale the message
Mhm.
and just to reach more people because you do have limitations of what you can do, through your coaching or through, your programming and, through your consulting. And so just wanting to kind of amplify the message of you can live a life aligned with your passion and purpose, but it's going to take action. It's going to take you realizing you're in charge of it, and you can use this framework, the Believe, Own, Learn, Design framework, to take those steps. And
Mhm.
it also, in the book, demystifies what being bold is all about. Like you're an expert on bravery, and I bet there's some things that people think being brave means
Mhm.
that you're just like, oh, no, no, it can mean a multitude of things. And I
Yep.
think when it comes to being bold, I think sometimes it gets a bad rap. And
Mhm.
maybe every now and then, particularly for women, it's harder for them to embrace being bold because they feel like their job may be to, to fit in or to kind of,
Yeah.
make sure they don't stand out or make sure that they take care of everybody else before themselves or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
And, I've had all of those. So, from the perspective of, being bold really is being aligned with your passion and purpose. And what the book is meant to do is kind of walk you through that and also demystify, what it means to be bold because sometimes people think being bold is big and loud and it's
Yep.
very, very quiet. Some of my, my boldest moves have happened by myself, really thinking through, doing what I want to do, kind of writing it down, getting the plan written down and thinking through the steps. That's a bold move, and it doesn't have to be loud. And so that's like one example of demystifying, like, oh, I'm not bold,
Mhm.
and like, oh, you are.
Yes,
You
indeed.
just don't even know it. And so really helping people understand that they're probably already bold and
Mhm.
taking the steps and like doing that right, left, forward is just going to take them to the next level of their life.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. This is incredible content. You definitely, listeners, want to purchase, and we'll give all that information in show notes in a little bit as well. Be bold today. Leigh, what I'm thinking and just processing everything that you're sharing, I love that you talk about the idea of demystifying the terminology, because yes, you're absolutely correct. When we hear these terms like be bold, what do you mean be bold? Like, uh, there's nothing a part of me that says boldness. But what we don't understand is there is more, like so much that we possess that says boldness. Like boldness is written all over it. And isn't it interesting how almost everything we need is in us? We just
Mhm.
sometimes need someone to stir it up, to point it out, and encourage us along the way. You know, we do often mention it on this podcast that that step looks different for everyone.
It's personal.
It's personal. So don't waste your time comparing your bold move to someone else's bold move. Your moves, your boldness will look different. It's going to feel differently than your friend or your colleague. And that's okay. We're actually encouraging you to embrace the uniqueness of your bold lifestyle, your
Mhm.
bold mindset. And I especially appreciate you, Leigh, for acknowledging how it can be difficult for some women to embrace the terminology
Mhm.
bold for
Mhm.
so many reasons. And we can even just highlight, if you're a woman, this is what you should look like, talk like, sound like. And if you don't fit
Mhm.
into that category, something's wrong and something is off.
Right.
So want people to be free to be themselves in terms of your personality, your mindset, the way you look, the way you talk. Allow all of that to become ingredients for your bold lifestyle.
Yeah, I think you just used a word there and it was freeing. I
Mhm.
think everyone has boldness within them and
Yeah.
bravery and courage within them, but it might not be freed. And I think that was, if I think of a word when I
Mm,
resigned and then started moving forward into the what's next, I
yep.
didn't sit around and go, woe is me and what's
Mm,
happening. I started like
ah,
having ideas and letting things go, and like in the sense of flowing through, like, okay, that's an idea. Let's write it down. It might not be a good one, but let's explore it, and being curious. And so those things helped free kind of the next step and the next step.
yeah.
And then by the time I gave my notice, by the time of my last day, I had already incorporated my company. I had done the steps that I needed to do to kind of get it off the ground. And now I needed to create the services and products and like heal myself and get a coach and do all those things that I did. But I mean, it was freeing to do that. It doesn't mean I wasn't scared. It doesn't mean I didn't have moments of anxiety and like, what the heck am I
Mhm.
doing? It didn't mean everybody understood me either.
Yeah.
And I got over that really quickly, you know? So everyone, when you make your move and you're doing the things that are bold, not everyone's going to understand it. And that's why it is personal, you know?
Mhm.
And it could be a small moment like today, I'm going to walk around the block because I got to get my motion going in my movement because my health is starting to really get affected by me not moving. That's bold. You're
Mhm.
making a choice for yourself. Figuring out kind of, you want to talk to your boss about what's another, potential opportunity within the organization you're in, and what do you need to learn
Mhm.
to kind of take it to the next level. Are there things that you're doing at the same time while talking about all the good things that you're doing for the organization, your accomplishment? That's a bold move, right? So they come in all these different flavors and sizes and types. And I think it's just really important to like, just don't put the lid on it. Like,
You
let
go.
it open the
Mm.
lid,
Yeah.
let it come out.
Absolutely. Open the lid,
Yeah.
let it come out. I hope that you all are encouraged to remove those unhealthy boundaries. They are keeping you bound.
Mhm.
Just take those limits off. I imagine some women are ready. They're ready to
Yeah.
make a move. So, how can they connect with you and allow your services and your products to help them to be bold? And they can begin this journey today.
Sure. The my website's the best place to go, and I'm sure they'll be in the episode notes. So leeburgess.com. You can learn all about the things that I'm doing. You can see the events that we have coming up, and you can see the book and learn more about the extras that come with the pre-order and the things that we can do together one to one if you'd want to do that.
Absolutely incredible. Well, there you have it, ladies. Purchase the book. Purchase the book today. Be bold today. Perhaps that's your bold move for the day by purchasing Leigh Burgess's book and connect with Leigh. I love her journey. It's personal, and that's how it began, a personal journey, which I believe increases the impact that she is going to make when you connect with her, when your company connects with her. Leigh, we appreciate you for showing up today with your transparency and thanking you as well for moving bravely, creating your company, Bold Industries Group. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.